It is the newly released body cam video showing cops arriving at the Santa Fe home of Gene Hackman and his wife. They learn from a handyman they are dead. They also hear the barking of one of their dogs that stayed loyal until the end.
You can hear Gene Hackman's distraught dogs barking as cops approach the home where the Hollywood legend and his wife were found dead. The Santa Fe Sheriff's Department released chilling body cam video showing deputies peering through the windows at Hackman's multi-million-dollar home.
We gotta figure out what's going on first. My concern is
when Gene Hackman passed away at 95, the world expected tributes, not horror stories. The legendary actor, known for The French Connection and Unforgiven, was one of Hollywood's most respected icons, a man who left the spotlight behind to live a quiet, peaceful life in Santa Fe, New Mexico. But when authorities entered his home after he and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were found dead, what they discovered inside was far from peaceful. It was disturbing, heartbreaking, and frankly, gross. The photos released by the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office painted a haunting picture of what life had become for the couple in their final days. Their $4 million mansion, once described as a serene desert getaway, had turned into a maze of clutter, filth, and decay. Piles of clothing, boxes, unopened groceries, prescription bottles, toiletries everywhere. Police body cam footage showed officers stepping carefully around dog crates, books, bedding, and trash that covered the floors. Some rooms looked untouched for months, while others were filled with the kind of chaos that only isolation can breed. And then came the smell. One officer on the body cam could be heard quietly telling another, "I smell something." Moments later, they found Betsy. She had passed away days earlier, and Hackman, who was suffering from advanced Alzheimer's disease, was still inside the house, unaware that his wife was gone. The couple's home had been closed off to the world for years. Hackman's daughters, Elizabeth and Leslie, told investigators that their father and stepmother were very private and refused to let anyone, even cleaning staff, into their home. They hadn't seen them in over a year and a half. Hackman, once a man of structure and discipline, had become withdrawn, fragile, and confused. But what shocked authorities wasn't just the mess. It was the state of neglect that had taken over the property. Inside one bathroom, police found feces and urine left in the toilet bowl, untouched for days. In a bedroom, a blood-stained pillow lay on the bed. In another room, piles of dog bedding and half-eaten food scattered across the floor. Boxes of groceries sat expired and molding. The once luxurious home had become a time capsule of disarray and decay. Outside the main house, things were even worse. Animal control specialists later confirmed that parts of the compound had become a breeding ground for infestation. Several dead rodents were discovered in outbuildings on the property, along with nests and droppings, though officials clarified that the main home itself was not overrun. Still, it was clear that the couple had been living in unhealthy conditions for quite some time, and tragically, it was those conditions that claimed Betsy's life. The 64-year-old pianist's cause of death was determined to be hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, HPS, a rare but deadly disease transmitted through rodent droppings. Just weeks before her death, Betsy had emailed her doctor saying that her husband had woken up feeling sick, that he'd tested negative for COVID, but she wanted to postpone her appointment out of caution. In the same week, she searched online for boost oxygen canisters, likely believing she was dealing with a simple respiratory illness. She had no idea she was battling something far deadlier. By February 12th, communication with the outside world stopped completely. For 9 days, no one heard from either of them. On February 26th, a longtime contractor, someone who'd worked with the couple for years, arrived at the house. What he found left him shaken for life. Hackman and Betsy were both dead. Their 3 dogs were discovered too, one deceased inside a locked cage, likely from starvation and dehydration, and 2 barely surviving after scavenging for food around the house. At a press conference weeks later, Santa Fe Sheriff Aiden Mendoza revealed what investigators believed had happened.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sheriff Adan Mendoza, Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office. With me today is Dr. Heather Giral, Chief Medical Investigator for the New Mexico Office of the Medical Investigator, Dr. Aaron Phipps, New Mexico State Public Health Veterinarian, New Mexico Department of Health, and also Chief Brian Moya, Santa Fe City Fire Department.
Autopsy examination and full body postmortem CT demonstrated no findings of trauma internally or externally, with microscopic findings consistent with hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. Laboratory testing was positive for hantavirus at a clinical lab with required confirmation testing positive at Scientific Laboratories Division. Testing for COVID-19, influenza, and other common respiratory viruses was negative. Testing for carbon monoxide was negative. There were no other significant natural disease findings. Pills present on scene were thyroid medication, which were being taken as prescribed and is not currently a concern for a contributory cause of death. The cause of death for Mr. Gene Hackman, aged 95 years, is hypertensive and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, with Alzheimer's disease as a significant contributory factor. Autopsy examination and a full body postmortem CT examination demonstrated no acute findings of internal or external trauma.
Betsy likely fell ill first, weakened by the hantavirus, and passed away in one of the bedrooms. Hackman, disoriented and unaware due to his Alzheimer's, remained in the home with her body for nearly a week before dying himself. His death was attributed to hypertensive and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, with Alzheimer's listed as a contributing factor. It was a tragic and lonely end for one of Hollywood's greatest actors, a man who had spent the last 2 decades avoiding fame, choosing solitude over the spotlight. But that solitude became his undoing. The photos released to the public showed everything the headlines hinted at, but words couldn't quite capture. A cluttered, claustrophobic space filled with the remnants of 2 lives that had quietly fallen apart. The contrast was hard to believe. Gene Hackman, the commanding presence who once dominated the screen, reduced to a frail shadow living in a house overtaken by time, illness, and neglect. Authorities gathered evidence, bagging personal belongings, documents, and prescription bottles. The sheriff's office confirmed that the couple had been dead for approximately 9 days when discovered. A haunting detail noted by responders was that Hackman's Alzheimer's likely made him unaware that Betsy had even passed. He may have continued his routine, eating, sitting by her side, or simply waiting, lost in confusion until his own body gave out. The public's reaction was a mix of shock and sorrow. Fans couldn't reconcile the gritty detective from The French Connection or the hardened outlaw from Unforgiven with this image. A man lost in his own home, surrounded by decay, yet beneath the disturbing details there was also deep sadness. The story of 2 people who loved privacy so much that they isolated themselves from the world completely. By April 15th, Hackman and Arakawa were laid to rest in Santa Fe. Their service was private, attended only by Hackman's 3 children, Christopher, Leslie, and Elizabeth. But even after their burial, the story didn't end. Hackman's estate became the subject of legal debate. Reports surfaced that his will hadn't been updated since 2005, leaving questions about who would inherit his estimated $80 million fortune. The irony of Gene Hackman's final years is painful. The man who once embodied control, authority, and quiet power had lost all 3. What police found inside his mansion wasn't just a mess. It was a tragic reflection of decline, of isolation turned deadly. The once vibrant actor who conquered Hollywood and then walked away from it all ended his life in silence, surrounded not by applause, but by emptiness. The world will remember Gene Hackman for his brilliance, the 2-time Oscar winner who gave us Popeye Doyle, Little Bill Daggett, and countless other unforgettable characters. But what they found inside his Santa Fe mansion tells another story, one of a man who spent his life running from the chaos of Hollywood, only for that chaos to quietly find him in the end. And when the cameras finally did return, it wasn't to celebrate his genius, but to document the lonely, heartbreaking final chapter of a Hollywood legend.